Chapter 6, the sixth key, goals, targets for your attention. Like the great motivational speaker Les Brown says, you do not have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. World-renowned motivational speaker Zig Ziglar asks, are you a wandering generality or a meaningful specific? Did you know that 3% of the population makes 10 times as much money as the other 97% combined? In 1979, a research study asked new graduates from Harvard's MBA program questions about their goals. The study's findings were as follows. 84% had no specific goals at all. 13% had goals, but they were not yet committed to paper. Only 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. 10 years later, the interviewers followed up with the graduates of the class. Can you imagine the results? The 13% of the class who had goals were earning, on average, twice as much as the 84% who had no goals at all. Even more interesting and shocking was that the 3% who had clear, written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% combined. These facts are simple, yet profound. Setting clear, written goals is a powerful tool to accelerate and increase your prosperity in the future. Written goals are like seeds that, when properly watered with vision and faith, will result in great harvests. You must have a specific target. When shooting an arrow at a target, you have a specific objective. Most people never take the time to specify exactly what it is that they want most in life. They have vague notions, but typically shoot their energies out into all different kinds of directions rather than at specific targets. Goals are targets. To be successful in life, you need specific, focused goals. The process of writing your goals helps to make them clear and tangible in your mind, as well as a way to bring your ideals into the physical plane. Michael Phelps began writing down his goals at a very young age. His coach advised him to write down the swim times that he wanted to accomplish and look at them at night before he went to bed. With 37 world records and 14 Olympic gold medals, I'd say his strategy has worked pretty well for him. Wouldn't you like to have the same kind of success as Michael Phelps? Take a note from his playbook and write down your goals. After reading the classic self-help book, Think and Grow Rich, a young and struggling comedian wrote himself a check for $10 million. He kept the check in his wallet and maintained a belief that one day he would be able to cash it. After a few years and several successes, the young comedian was in fact written a real check for $10 million to play the lead role in Dumb and Dumber. The young comedian was Jim Carrey, and he's been laughing all the way to the bank for many years now. He actually earned a record $20 million for his role in The Cable Guy. Did that check in his wallet have anything to do with the larger checks he now cashes? Law of attraction. Much has been made in recent years about the law of attraction, and with good reason. The Secret by Rhonda Byrne has done a great job of bringing this hugely powerful concept to the masses. The law of attraction states, that which is like is drawn unto itself. The mind and emotions of human beings are an activating center for magnetizing non-physical energy into physical reality. In the most basic terms possible, what you give your attention to on a regular basis becomes your reality. I'm going to repeat that one more time because this is one of the most powerful concepts presented in this book, and it is essential that you understand this main point in order to become the master of your own destiny. What you give your attention to on a regular basis becomes your reality. Your beliefs are like blocks of thought that form the situations, events, and circumstances of your life. If your beliefs are focused on positive outcomes and desired ends, you will help construct them in reality. However, if your thoughts are on conflicts and difficulties, your attention will be focused on creating blocks that shape a reality filled with conflicts and difficulties. You are not a product of what's around you. What's around you, instead, is a product of your thoughts and emotions. Back in the early 1970s, a young man was told about the law of attraction. At the time, he was earning around $7,000 a year and barely getting by. He thought that with an income of $100,000 a year, he would be able to afford anything he wanted. He took a $1 bill and added 5 zeros after the 1 to make his own $100,000 bill. He then placed the bill on his ceiling so that every day he'd see it. Within a year, he had sold enough books to make that $100,000 a reality. Over the past 30 years since he learned about the law of attraction, Jack Canfield has become one of the most successful nonfiction authors of all time. Jack teamed up with Mark Victor Hansen to create a book series called Chicken Soup for the Soul. Today, they have sold over 140 million copies and grossed over $1.6 billion in sales. Their goal is to sell 1 billion copies by the year 2020. The pair has publicly said that when they put together Chicken Soup for the Soul, they had a clear written goal for the book to be a New York Times bestseller. That was their mindset from the beginning. Not just to write a book, as many people set as a goal, but to write a best-selling book, which brings a lot more rewards than just writing a book. Learn from Mark and Jack to set goals that will bring you what you really want. Creative versus competitive mind. Ask, and it is given. Knock, and it is open to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Learning to understand life as a creative process, rather than as a ruthless competition, is a huge key to achieving maximum success in life. The truth is that you are not competing with anyone else for what you want. What you have in your life and what you will continue to receive is a result of your thoughts and emotions on an ongoing basis. Joel Osteen is a best-selling author and pastor of Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. When he wrote his first book, his goal was to sell 50,000 copies. He focused on his target and envisioned himself achieving that goal. His focus was on what he wanted to achieve, not on the obstacles that stood in his way. His first book sold 5 million copies, 100 times his target goal of 50,000. Why did his book sell so well? First of all, he believed that he had a book good enough to sell 50,000 copies, and he had faith that God would fulfill that vision. He used his mind to create a vision of things working out in a specific way. If you do your part, God will exceed your expectations every time. Chris Gardner is a self-made millionaire, motivational speaker, and philanthropist. You may know his life story from the Hollywood version of his autobiography, The Pursuit of Happiness. Chris was struggling to get by and eventually was unable to afford even a modest apartment. He and his young son slept in homeless shelters and cheap motels, despite the fact that he was gainfully employed but not earning much money. One day, Chris saw a man outside a hospital dressed in beautiful clothes and driving a shiny new Ferrari. Somewhat in awe, Chris asked the man what he did for a living. The man told him he was a stockbroker. At that moment, Chris began to create a vision of himself as a wealthy and successful man. He set the specific goal of becoming a stockbroker and fashioning a better life for himself and his family. Chris was able to become so wealthy that he now is able to support charities and economic development in foreign countries. How did he do this? He had specific goals that he wanted to achieve, and he used his creative mind to focus on his goals. The actions he needed to take became clear, and he was able to act with a purpose. He wasn't competing to get the things he wanted, he was creating that new reality.